Howdy folks and welcome. I hope this finds you well. Today, I'm excited to share with you my full retrospective on the original StarCraft and Brood War. These are two separate videos that I've combined for your viewing convenience, edited albeit loosely. I'm also very excited to be working on my retrospective for StarCraft 2 at the moment, and look forward to all the lore and analysis that comes with that. If that sounds interesting to you, check out my channel. There's something there for everyone. I make sure of it. And without further ado, let's talk about this amazing and fantastic universe of StarCraft. Howdy folks and welcome. I hope this finds you well. Today, we'll be talking about one of the most interesting sci-fi stories in gaming, and one of the best real-time strategy games ever created. Welcome to StarCraft. If you're new to the channel, it wouldn't be a Dog Dad video without hearing your memories and experiences with these games that I cover. I would love to hear your stories on StarCraft, and I know there are millions of them. Please leave a comment down below about your favorite part of StarCraft as a kid growing up, or if you play today. Like any retrospective on my channel, we'll be playing through the whole base game, excluding Brood War. That'll be for a different video. We'll be looking at StarCraft's themes, motifs, narrative, gameplay, design, and how Blizzard created a truly vivid and terrifying science fiction game. If that sounds good to you, I hope you're in a comfy place, have something to relax with, and let's get started. StarCraft started development in 1995 and debuted in 1996 at the Electronic Entertainment Expo. This was also the catalyst for Blizzard Entertainment's film division, which catapulted Blizzard in the gaming scene to masters of storytelling and technological know-how. StarCraft released on March 31st, 1998, on Windows and on Mac in 1999. There was another port in 2000, but we're not going to get to it today. The game soon became the best-selling PC game of the year, and even though support in North America was strong, a surprising number of South Koreans had purchased the game. Having over 1 million units sold in Korea by November of 1999, StarCraft's world sales had soared past 4 million units by 2001. South Korea accounted for 50% of these. Those PC bangs. It just wasn't the players either that were enjoying the game. Countless awards and high scores later, StarCraft was touted as a generational hit and living up to the hype that it generated in development. I always find it interesting to read the reviews of old games because it gives you a little insight into what reviewers were thinking at the time. The only real gripes with the game that I found was that the unit pathing was pretty bad, and sadly the remaster doesn't address that. I'll briefly touch on the multiplayer as well, before we get into the base game, because StarCraft's multiplayer was insane. I remember feeling logging into old Battle.net felt like I was hacking into Soviet computers in the 80s. I can still remember the fun that I had playing custom match games, some of my favorites being the tank defense or fast resources. Regular matches were always exhilarating but stressful. Matching up against anyone in the open ladder, you'd check people's profiles to see their win-loss ratios, and then quickly backing out when you saw that they had over 1,500 wins. Anyways, whatever you like to do, there was something there for you. But how does StarCraft hold up after all these years as a single-player game? Are the 3 campaigns as amazing as my nostalgia makes them out to be? Will the sound and design resonate like it did 20 plus years ago? Does the gameplay and mechanics still feel enjoyable? Those questions are answered and much, much more in this StarCraft retrospective. So, being the remaster, I guess you get the Brood War opening, which to be honest is just incredible and sets the tone a lot quicker. The opening also shows off one of Blizzard's best traits in their visual storytelling, how they pull off scale. I love that you see these Marines that are metal on their own, and then just seeing this battle cruiser lighting up the trenches had my jaw dropping, even today. Disclaimer, I'm not giving props to this Blizzard, I'm giving props to the hardworking people that spent years dedicated to this fantastic piece of art. I hope by articulating how good Blizzard was, maybe there would be some hope in the future for this type of storytelling. Profits be damned. This ending is something I will remember always. From the music to the visuals, and just thinking to myself at 9 years old, I'm glad I wasn't there.
Stand here. You need to see this.
I know all about this Zerg, Gerard. We've all seen the tapes 100.
You've seen nothing. Dissecting a dead Zerg in a lab is one thing. Unleashing them on men is another. You must go into this with both eyes open. Once started, there's no going back.
To go all the way, my good Admiral.
Good. Good. I knew I could count on you.
Admiral, the colonist base will be overrun in a matter of minutes. Shall we intervene?
Take us into orbit, Mr. Malmsteen. We've seen enough.
Oh, that music. Whoa. For menu music and the sound effects, this hits the nail on the head. I know I'm biased since I played this game more than I should have as a kid, but StarCraft just hits the sweet spot. We start off the game on Marasara colony. I'm glad to play this game as an adult because there is a story here. To be honest, the only thing I could understand back then was Raynor was good, Zerg bad, and the Protoss were super cool. And that's about it. I love that Raynor is just some cop in a barren wasteland. Considering where he goes from here, it's a space odyssey to say the least.
Howdy, boys. I'm Jim Raynor, Marshal of these parts.
Wow, that voice acting? But what did they do to his art style? I'm a fan of some of the reworked art styles, but Raynor's feels like a generic Marine number 101. You can switch back and forth between the old game and the remastered graphics, which was good on them for doing, and it works seamlessly. Some of the models look great, and some are like Raynor, and then you get the straight up bad, which is unfortunate because I feel like this was a great opportunity to expand the art style. After helping out a colony in need, we discovered this monstrosity.
Fire it up. You got it.
Anytime you're ready.
What the hell did they do to that command center?
Whatever it is, it ain't natural. Burn it, boys.
What a line. With that and the music, plus the intense gunfire with these beautifully animated sprites, I was grooving harder than I expected. Was this game still one of the best?
Transmission.
Marshal Raynor, by destroying a vital Confederate installation, you and your men have violated standing colonial law. As of right now, you're all under arrest. I suggest you throw down your weapons and come peaceably.
Are you out of your mind? If we hadn't burned that damn factory, this entire colony could have been overrun. Maybe if you hadn't taken your sweet time in getting here.
Now, I asked you nice the first time, boy. I didn't come here to talk with you. Now throw down them weapons.
Guess you wouldn't be a Confederate if you weren't a complete pain in the ass.
Oh, so it is that Confederacy. Like, the Confederacy. It's really interesting the politics around these events. Duke works for the Confederacy, which I guess is mad that we destroyed a command center. I'm assuming they didn't know it was filled with Zerg, since the next cutscene shows us that it's not too typical to see them out in the wastes.
What's that? Hold on a minute a second. Steamroller! Looks like you mashed some poor feller's dog, Sarge.
It's a Zerglin, Lester. Smaller type of Zerg. They even be out this far unless... Oh, shit.
I love you, Sarge.
I think these cutscenes did a great job not only of moving the story along and setting vivid smaller scenes in the grander scheme of the story, but bravo to these animations. If only Fallout 1 or 2 had this budget. Eek. So, we're outlaws at this point, and the whole world is getting overrun by Zerg. We might need a friend.
Avoid action against the Zerg. 3 stations have fallen to the Zerg already. We've been unable to locate any source of military relief except the extremist faction known as the Sons of Korhal. Their liaison is holding online.
Good day, Magistrate. My name is Arcturus Mensk, and I represent the Sons of Korhal. You're familiar with the Confederate propaganda surrounding my group, but your reputation suggests you'll see past it. It's never been our practice to operate in any one place for long, but these Zerg don't look like they're going to wait.
Another thing I didn't get as a kid is that Minsk is a terrorist? Like legit fringe group terrorist.
Colony and evacuating any survivors. You know, of course, that my organization operates outside the bounds of Confederate law. That's why they spread their lies and misinformation. If you decide to accept our help, you'll be branded as an outlaw too. But it's a chance to save those people. Time to make a stand, Magistrate.
What a great actor, and it's kind of crazy who your friends can be. So we have to wait out 30 minutes before Menk's terrorist dropships get to us and the refugees off of this planet. That's one of the things that draws you in even 25 plus years later. This planet, no matter what you do, is about to get destroyed. And there are real people that want to survive just like you or I would. I love those little details in the shop that sells Space Marine armor or the abandoned shops near the minerals. I remember lots of parts, but this level is one of those iconic, I can't believe it's 30 minutes to bunker down sort of deals. For this playthrough, I knew I just had to upgrade my Marines, hunker down in the bunkers, and put on a podcast. Do bunkers up Marine range even with the Academy upgrade? I couldn't find anything, but it felt that way. Anyways, the Zerg assault goes into overdrive, and our less than ideal partners in crime show up.
Your tenure as Colonial Magistrate is suspended, pending an official investigation of your affiliation with the Sons of Korhal.
Well, I wasn't expecting a promotion. Mensk, after freeing Raynor, proposes that we infiltrate a Confederate science base. Story-wise, I love this type of espionage route, and the gameplay-wise, these levels, even though difficult, are a lot of fun, if you save a lot. We make our way through the labs and discover what looks like the Fallout FEV vats. We also find the plans and deliver them back to the base. We meet Kerrigan, who looks like a futuristic Sam Fisher. She tells us that another colony is ready for open revolt against the Confederacy, and we're here to stir up a little trouble to get that all going.
Sounds fun.
Captain Raynor, I finished scouting out the area and... You pig!
What? I haven't even said anything to you yet.
Yeah, but you were thinking it.
Oh, yeah. You're a telepath. Look, let's just get on with this, okay?
Oofta, as they say in Sweden. A bit weird on both sides trying to explain her psychic powers, but hey, it could have been worse. Playing as Kerrigan is so much fun, especially having the cloak ability. She is just such a badass. I love that switch when you take control of the command center. It's just cool to think about what's really happening. The revolution.
Be a pleasure. Thinking the same thing. I've taken care of business on this end, Commander.
After many attempts to land on the enemy side, we finally take the island. God, I lost so many Marines. I love the small cutscene. Seeing the battle cruiser falling is just iconic, and knowing it was a Confederate ship, all the better. Turns out the Confederacy is going crazy over these rebellions, plus an unruly Zerg. While talking, we pick up a signal from Duke, a Confederate military leader that was the one that crashed from the Zerg attack in the cutscene before. Mengsk is calculated, and getting a high-ranking Confederate on their side would be a great help. Really encountering the Zerg for the first time and seeing the creep and being shot by this green goo stuff, it all works so well. You have to take things slow, and I always researched upgrades, which made things so much nicer. There isn't a lot of RTS where I felt so much satisfaction as when I stimpack my Marines and destroy a whole line of workers. Anyways, we find Duke's ship and give him the ultimatum: die here or come join a terrorist organization. I shouldn't be surprised. I think humans in space will be more focused on surviving than ideological steadiness, but who knows. Obviously, people are not happy with us. Taking in Duke, we get some backstory about how ghosts are made, and to put it shortly, it's kind of like the Witcher trials. Turns out the Confederacy has developed some psi emitter that lures Zerg to it. Very odd R&D, but I'm not the treasurer. I like this line by Mengsk as well because he says the Confederacy made the Zerg probably to rile up support and vitriol towards them as an organization. But later on, we know that he's lying, right? I thought it was a nice touch, especially where he gets to later on, and he uses his own propaganda and lying to perpetuate his own evils and power grabbing. Alright, time to give the Confederacy a taste of their own medicine.
Just promise me we'll never do anything like this again.
We will do whatever it takes to save humanity. Our responsibility is too great to do any less.
Pretty messed up if you ask me, and if these tapes ever got out, oh boy, Nixon would look like a saint. We're going to use the psi emitter on the Confederacy, which Kerrigan agreeably thinks is atrocious. We're sorry, we won't do this again. I like these artwork slides. It was a neat little touch. So, the Zerg killed the Confederacy, and if there was any doubt, the Protoss ships destroys the whole planet. Duke is a quick turn and helps us identify a Confederate weakness on their home planet. I like how they teach you about the Terran buildings being able to fly and land, if you didn't know that already. This level was hard, and I almost ran out of resources. But in the end, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So, it is that Confederacy. What's the lore behind this? No wonder they're all messed up. I don't feel too bad now that we're destroying all their outposts and infrastructure, but Mengsk isn't any better. Now on the Confederate homeworld of Parsonus, Mengsk give orders that completely give me the crazy vibes, and Raynor agrees.
Direct course to the primary Zerg hive.
If they engage the Zerg, the Confederates may escape. Commander, send Lieutenant Kerrigan with a strike force to engage the Protoss. Captain Raynor and General Duke will stay behind with the command ship.
First you sell out every person on this world to the Zerg. Then you ask us to go up against the Protoss. And you're gonna send Kerrigan down there with no backup?
I have absolute confidence in Kerrigan's ability to hold off the Protoss.
This is bullshit. Kerrigan, are you reading this?
I heard. I'm going down there. Arcturus knows what he's doing. I can't back out on him now.
Funny. I never thought of you as anyone's martyr.
Kerrigan, literally having said she wouldn't do this again, does it again. She has this great speech to Raynor, and when hearing her side of the coin, I kind of agree with her. She's worked for Minsk a long time and goes by her strong psychic abilities. Sadly, after taking care of the Protoss forces and protecting the Zerg, this is how she's repaid.
We've neutralized the
Base is
Protoss.
under
Wave of
attack.
Zerg advancing on this position. We need immediate evac.
Belay that order. We're moving out.
What? You're not just gonna leave her.
Base
All
is under
ships prepare
attack.
to move away from Tarsonis on my mark.
Boys? How about that evac?
Damn you, Arcturus. Don't do this.
It's done. Helmsman, signal the fleet and take us out of orbit. Now.
Base is under
Commander?
attack.
Jim? What the hell is going on up there?
This is such a strong visual and a strong moment in the game. Seeing this overwhelming Zerg forces, I couldn't help but say an expletive. Hearing Kerrigan's voice and knowing the events cannot be changed made me melancholy. They really do her dirty. Oh yeah, we get ourselves a fascist, genocidal maniac.
Not by you, or the Confederates, or the Protoss, or anyone. I will rule this sector, or see it burn to ashes around me. If you try to get
The fleet is prepped and ready, Commander. Awaiting orders.
The hell with him. We're gone.
It really is the sector he wants, though. Why do people like this exist? It's like seeing someone with an ice cream cone and getting angry that you don't have it, so you send Zerglings over to that kid and they murder him. Times that by 1 billion planets. That's Minsk. Remember that cannon we disabled? Well, if we want to leave, we'll have to destroy it. This level made me realize that the defense matrix, or whatever the spell that stops battle cruisers from doing anything, is the bane of my existence and had me truly raging at this game. This was a tough one, but getting past all the BS made the ending so much better. With the ion gun taken down, we get the hell out of Dodge, which allows Minsk to change some things.
Fellow Terrans, I come to you in the wake of recent events to...
I can't believe ass is down minus 13 basis points in a time like this.
To issue a call to reason. Let no human deny the perils of our time. While we battle one another, divided by the petty strife of our common history, the tide of a greater conflict is turning against us, threatening to destroy all that we have accomplished. It is time for us as nations and as individuals to set aside our long-standing feuds and unite. The tides of an unwinnable war are upon us, and we must seek refuge upon higher ground lest we be swept away by the flood. The Confederacy is no more. Whatever semblance of unity and protection it once provided is a phantom, a memory. With our enemies left unchecked, who will you turn to for protection? The devastation wrought by the alien invaders is self-evident. We have seen our homes and communities destroyed by the calculated blows of the Protoss. We have seen firsthand our friends and loved ones consumed by the nightmare Zerg. Unprecedented and unimaginable though they may be, these are the signs of our time. The time has come, my fellow Terrans, to rally to a new banner. In unity lies strength. Already many of the dissident factions have joined us. Out of the many, we shall forge an indivisible whole, capitulating only to a single throne. And from that throne, I shall watch over you.
This was a great cutscene, and a lot of things he says is true. Humans come together, the Zerg are scary, Protoss are more powerful, but Christ, he's gone full dictator. And with that, we start the Zerg campaign. I enjoyed how they ended the Terran campaign, and I remember there being more, but I guess it's through the other two campaigns that really the StarCraft story shines. The Zerg campaign starts off strong. You are a creature of the Overmind, and they need you to build a spawning pool to see if you're up to snuff to lead their legions into battle. We're also against another familiar foe. Just joking. What are you doing here, Executrix?
Strategist and overseer.
Thanks for stopping by. I love the backdrop for the Zerg missions, and their briefs. Everything about Zerg is just nastily awesome, except for the remaster's hatcheries. Good God, why did they make it like this? The Overmind claps in satisfaction seeing the decimation of the Terran forces, and we get the job. Yes, Ma, you wouldn't believe it. No, I didn't pick up the dry cleaning, but I did get the job with the Overmind. You know I'll be a good Cerebrit. Thanks, Mom. I'll bring you back a Protoss head. Overmind tells us we gotta warp out of here, and I won't even touch this. We get our cool Zerg special forces and accompany a young Chrysalis to the beacon. Cue Chrysalis.
Prepare yourself, Cerebrit. Your first jump through warp space could be unsettling.
Behold the power of that which is yet unborn. For the swirling images that flow forth from the chrysalis are only a shadow of the sleeper's true power.
We arrive at Char and send out a signal for some reason to alert our enemies, aka Mensk. We have to protect the chrysalis and kill off the humans, and whoa, I wonder what's in this chrysalis box? After wiping the Terran humans back, we get a great advertisement for visiting Char. Damn, Overmind, this place looks frickin' dreadful. Also, who would come here? Oh, she lures Jimmy in. Obviously, Kerrigan is starting her teenage phase early because the Cerebrits aren't too happy about another strike force of humans being so close, aka Raynor's group. We get access to the Queens this level too, which honestly are pretty cool in certain instances, like putting a parasite on a dropship to see the whole level. I was kind of astonished I hadn't done this before. I had to switch to the old school for this.
Sarah, is that really you?
To an extent. I'm far more than I once was, Jim. You shouldn't have come here.
But the dreams. I dreamed you were still alive, that somehow you were calling to me.
I was. While I was in the chrysalis, I instinctively reached out to you and Arcturus telepathically. Apparently, Arcturus sent Duke here to reclaim me. But that was then, Jim. I'm one of the Zerg now, and I like where I am. You can't imagine how this feels.
So, what? Are you gonna kill me now, darling?
That is certainly within my power. But you're not a threat to me, Jim. Be smart. Leave here now and never seek to confront the Zerg again.
Doesn't look like I have much choice.
Yo, Raynor, I've known people like this before. You better leave early than never at all. Anyways, Kerrigan is now out and about and wants dominion over all life. We're in her good favor since we quote-unquote looked out for her, so I'm guessing I'm switching division. Kerrigan now wants to know all about what the heck happened to her as a kid with the ghost trials, which the other Cerebrits aren't happy about. Zaz, and I think there's a deli named that near me, is furious that the Overmind is even considering letting Kerrigan go. For an all-seeing being like the Overmind, he is weirdly okay with just letting Kerrigan be free. Like, how do you not foresee she will gain her own path? Maybe he knew. We'll get there. We oblige Kerrigan and follow her into the science lab. God damn, Kerrigan is such a freaking badass. Another beautiful little detail is how special units' damage are always so much better than the base units. It just makes their unique sprite and effect so much more meaningful. I cannot tell you how cool whipping people with Kerrigan's wings or whatever she uses are, and seeing the new animation for Terran deaths was kind of staggering. What happened to Warcraft 3 Remastered? Why did they bungle that so badly? Anyways, we storm through the facility, laying waste to any stupid human. My cerebrate brain is just going haywire. I'm glad she remembers how to use a computer though. I always loved this cutscene back in the day and never realized that this was the science vessel we had just annihilated, and this was supposed to be a demo mission? I know I wasn't the smartest kid, but kind of funny how Kerrigan leaves some of her elite hunters just waiting for this to happen. I don't care how she knew, but I'll let you enjoy this ode to Alien.
Hey, are we really gonna blow this place?
Only if we see a Zerg.
Yeah, I got your Zerg right here.
We get back to Kerrigan trying out different lines about herself to a new threat, the Protoss. I like how Tassadar just disses her over and over again. It's interesting because he does really underestimate Kerrigan's power.
Since last we met.
Mayhap, O Queen. Or is it only that I need not flaunt my power in such an infantile test of will?
Foolish Templar. Prepare your defenses. I will come for you soon.
So the main Zerg forces warp their way to the Protoss homeworld. I swear I wasn't going to touch it, and Kerrigan is stuck on Char. The Overmind is sputtering some stuff about the greatest beings of creation and wants us to get some rock crystal that probably will get his membrane buzzing. After letting a drone harvest this gigantic crystal for what felt like an hour, we get back to the boys and celebrate.
You have done well, my Seraphet. The Protoss can do nothing but flee before the onslaught of the swarm. But now you must assault one final site before our conquest is assured. Behold, there is a temple not far from here that lies upon ground most hallowed. Though I have borne witness to the passing of countless millennia, the temple which you must assault is only by far. For it was constructed by my creators, the Zelnaga, and it marks the site where the Zelnaga first set foot upon Aiur. The temple must be cleared, and the Kedaran crystal set in its place. Only then shall the way be made ready, for it is upon that ground alone that I may be manifest.
We get the old knowledge and learn about the Zelnaga, the originator race, which you get to learn about more in StarCraft 2. Honestly, I forgot they were this heavily mentioned by the Overmind, which is kind of interesting that Blizzard had a ton of lore on hand for this game. We destroyed the temple and bring that large crystal over. Honestly, playing Zerg is so much fun, and upgrading your Zerglings so they go fast and have +3 attack kind of is a sensory soothing action for me. I do not know why. So, what I'm inferring from the Overmind speech is that the Xel'Naga are like the starter race that made the Zerg and Protoss but not the Terran, and that the Overmind wants to combine Zerg and Protoss to make a superior race. Oh Jesus, space Nazis. I guess the temple spot that we cleared out was also the spot for the Overmind wanted to plant himself in. Where did he even come from? If you know any of this, please leave a comment. So, crazy seeing this world just burning, and oh god, it's so disturbing. They did such an amazing job with these cinematics. And that's the Zerg campaign. And I instantly went to the Protoss one. So, obviously things are bad on Protoss front. Homeworld in chaos, not a lot of people left, and some weird sect of religion that practices quote-unquote dark magic or what have you. Why does it always have to be dark? Why not red magic? Anyways, it really messes with you since you were the commander causing all of what you're about to clean up in the Protoss campaign. And that's okay, because Protoss are awesome. I'm slightly biased. I did play Protoss both on StarCraft 1 and 2, and there was just something about them that I love. Maybe it was the voice lines, maybe it was the ability to construct buildings without a worker present, or maybe it was just the carriers. Whatever reason, the Protoss campaign is a lot of fun. We start out with meeting Phoenix and defend Antioch, while meeting Tassadar as well, a seemingly rogue Templar that doesn't like to get talked down to. He pretty much explains everything we already know in a huge exposition dump. I didn't say this game was perfect. After getting access to the rovers, which if you've ever had these god darn things in your mineral lines, you know what hell feels like. Unfortunately, Tassadar is wrong about taking down the Cerebrate, because nothing changes. It doesn't help that the council just thinks this is some betrayal, so he disappears while we're tasked with defending Scion while Phoenix stays in Antioch. Obviously, the Zerg never would have gone after Phoenix with us there, so seeing this cutscene after decimating the Zerg on our end was sad to say the least.
Executor, Antioch is under attack by overwhelming Zerg forces.
Praetor, you must hold your position for as long as possible. Fight on, brave Phoenix, and know that the gods watch over you. Entaro Adun.
Did we not pay our power bill? Phoenix is slain, supposedly, and we're told to find Tassadar on Char. Oh boy, it looks like a tavern here.
Aldaris, Executor, how is it that you've come here? I was about to abandon all hope of rescue.
I have come to arrest you and bring you home to Aya to stand trial.
Arrest me? Aya burns at the touch of the Zerg. You travel all this way to arrest me?
Don't let it get to you, man. This happened to me once.
Who is this human, Tassadar?
The name's Jim Raynor, pal, and I won't be talked down to by anybody. Not even a Protoss.
Tassadar and Raynor surrounded by Zerg and are told about Zeratul, a Dark Templar that might have the ability to change the tide of war. After saving Jimmy and Tassie, we get told off, and honestly, I wouldn't employ myself at this point. We're a wild cannon and have no true allegiance. Tassadar does admit that his advice on the Cerebrate was not wise, but also acts like the Protoss were supposed to know that we should have used some sort of specific dark energy. It was a weird writing moment for me. We get this cutscene, which I guess just shows how freaking cool the Protoss are, and how they are the best out of the three factions. No bias, no bias.
Fire!
Oh yeah, yeah! Feel that hot love right up your
Tassadar, I guess, infiltrates this Terran base, which somehow imprisoned this Dark Templar. How did the Terran do this? Am I missing something? We get to Zeratul, and we pretty much get on our hands and knees trying to get him to lend himself to the cause. What a cool line.
Since our banishment long ago, we have have failed in our responsibility to Io. Though it shall cause us great pain to see your homeland once more, we shall return with you, Tassadar. We will do what we can.
We get back to Ire and see an old friend. Phoenix is back as a Dragoon, which, oh boy, can we talk for a second about the unit design in this game? StarCraft blows this out of the water. I mean, every faction has their own distinct feeling and look. Beyond that, each of these units is so vital to a successful mission. I love deep sci-fi, and knowing that Dragoons are just fallen zealots and hearing that voice line, it still sends a shiver down my spine.
I have returned, receiving.
Now with our Dark Templar friends, we're tasked with destroying the evil Council Conclave, whatever you want to call them. Tassadar pulls a martyr-type play and gives himself up in the end, which is nice and all, but we just bust him out and he goes, "I thought you would do that." Well, why did you give yourself up then? We just killed the same amount of people.
You will learn that the will of the Conclave is absolute. Make peace with Adun.
Stay thy hand, adjudicator. The stewards of Tassadar shall not fall while the Dark Templar live. Call off your guards and stand aside. You may yet learn to see another rise.
I will not be addressed so by one so devoid of the Kala's light. You and your vile brethren shall die with these traitors.
Are you truly so blinded by your vaunted religion that you cannot see the fall ahead of you? You speak of knowledge, Judicator. You speak of experience. I have journeyed through the darkness between the most distant stars. I have beheld the births of negative sounds and borne witness to the entropy of entire realities. Unto my experience, Balderus, all that you have built here on Ior is but a fleeting dream. A dream from which your precious conclave shall awaken, finding themselves drowned in a greater nightmare.
Yeah, this speech is really neat. How do you not love this type of stuff? Now was our chance to take out the Cerebrits so that the Overmind would be open to the attack. We hatched the plan and execute it. There is some story stuff, but it's the same knowledge that we learned as Zerg. Using the cloaking unit and microing around all the overlords was fantastic and really made you play a different type of game. I think the campaign actually does a decent job of preparing you for online, if only for knowing the units and mechanics pretty well. But nothing can prepare you for your first Zergling rush. With the Cerebrits taken care of, we get our final mission in the base game and the destruction of the Overmind. This was kind of a wild mission in the fact that you get to play both Terran and Protoss together, having technically over 400 units on the field at the same time, which is bonkers in StarCraft terms. I enjoyed this final level so much, but it did feel kind of sit back and relax once you've established your bases. I did like I was able to create my aircraft farm, and I thought it was fitting to end the campaign like this.
Severe damage ourselves. I will steer the Gantrathor into a collision course with the Overmind. If I can channel enough of the Dark Templar's energy through the hull of the Gantrathor, I should be able to bring swift death to the accursed abomination. Remember us, Executor. Remember what was done here today. May Adun watch over you.
Damn, dude, these Protoss guys love to sacrifice themselves. We get this epic cutscene and then... What? I guess he pretty much just charred. Get it? Charred? Okay, I need to stop writing this script. He killed, like, almost all of the Protoss in the process of taking down the Overmind. I don't know if it was all worth it, especially with Kerrigan now numero uno on the Swarm list to take the job. Honestly, this is such a great setup, and I eagerly anticipate playing Brood War, not only to continue the story, but also enjoying the fantastic gameplay StarCraft still has to offer after 25 years. I'm so happy that this game still holds up in every facet possible, and that the remaster is truly what remasters should be, par some horrible picture frame animations. Sorry, whoever worked on that, it's just my opinion. If you never have played StarCraft, play this game. If you have, but it's been a while, play this game. There are still people playing online, and even getting custom matches with AI or your friends is enjoyable. With hours of fun battles ahead, I cannot recommend this game enough. Blizzard's music for almost all of the 90s and 2000s games holds up so well and really had me jamming out. The story doesn't feel generic, even if there is some interesting choices at times with the writing, but overall the story with the lens of being an adult was well done and directed. I enjoyed all the small details that the game developers incorporated, from the special units dealing more damage than their counterparts to the storytelling with scripted events in the game. Whatever it was, there was always something for the player to be doing. You never wanted to or could step away from your computer for too long, dare your resources get too high, your buildings get destroyed, or your precious workers get annihilated. I say StarCraft holds up because no matter what the graphics are in the remaster, the game itself is the same. From the amazing feelings to the bad pathing, it's all StarCraft, which is a great thing. I don't know if you've watched a certain YouTube short about a former Blizzard dev talking about how they made more money off of a WoW item than StarCraft. This makes me sad because not only did this person and countless others work on such a great game, but the disappointment in their voice when saying this stat made me horribly melancholy. These old games have meaning to us all, right? You wouldn't be here if they didn't, so what's changed? Why has this art seemingly been taken out of gaming now? Is it truly the profit margins in the arena of gaming as of today? I truly hope these big publishers like EA and Blizzard remember their roots, have enough money and funds to pay for these titles, and get a team that truly cares about making good stories and games. Hearing about the Dead Space remake getting canned had me thinking this will not go over well, but one can only hope. Anyways, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch the video. It truly means the world to me. If you haven't already, please leave that comment about your favorite memory of StarCraft, click that like button if you like the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you really enjoyed the video, check out my channel. There is something there for everyone. And as always, see you next time.
Boys, how about that evac?
Damn you, Arcturus. Don't do this.
It's done. Helmsman, signal the fleet and take us out of orbit. Now.
Base is under attack.
Jim, what the hell is going on up there?
Wow, what a game. And a pretty cool video if I do say so myself. Just joking. Let's get into Brood War. Howdy folks and welcome. I hope this finds you well. Today we'll be focusing on the classic expansion that brought so many people to the StarCraft universe. I hope you're comfy, have something to relax with, because we're about to start a Brood War. StarCraft Brood War came out in the distant past of 1998? Wow, that's 26 years ago. Brood War came out to a slew of critical acclaim for the expansion's attention to detail like balancing, additional units, and a whole lot more. Brood War was mostly looked at as the main catalyst for the expansion of StarCraft's online competitive scene. Already highly popular in Korea and even in the United States, Brood War supplanted the game as #1 in South Korea, with players like Slayer's Boxer having more than 500,000 people in their fan club. This was pre-Facebook. Brood War did something that we probably will never see again in gaming. It was almost a complete expansion of the base game mechanics without any community feedback or input. Now, before you say they had playtesters or the original StarCraft gang, I'm looking at it through a different lens, a more modern lens. Nowadays, betas go out for testing online, and I know plenty of people that like to play the public test realms for certain games. It gives good feedback to the developers, and depending on the community, can really influence the game. What Blizzard did in 1998 to make StarCraft an even more intensive, heart-pounding, and beautiful RTS is spectacular. It's spectacular because it didn't involve years of back and forth and patches. Blizzard just delivered. Brood War's mechanics are out of this world, and I don't know if it was just me, but after playing StarCraft 1 for that retrospective, link down below in the comments, Brood War was difficult, which was a good thing. With the addition of new units for the 3 factions, all being much more micro-heavy than I was ready for, Brood War is probably the closest I would ever come to giving a game a most competitive moniker. The knowledge base that you need, plus the actual inputs from the mouse and keyboard, it's kind of like a hyper chess without a timer or turns. You had your obvious counters and you had your not so obvious counters, but at the end of the day, each person started with the same finite materials and it was a match of skill and wit. Yet, what about the other half of the game? I get multiplayer was really popular, but there were some major cliffhangers from the end of the first one. Like, what happened to the Protoss? Did Raynor get his bike back from the Zerg? How did the Overmind mess up so badly? So, I was excited to see where Blizzard took the story since the base game had so many beautiful story elements and motifs. What the hell is this?
War on us. Have faith, Zeratul.
Now, this is my opinion. If you have a different one about the game's story, please let me know in the comments. After having a couple of days to process and write the script after finishing Brood War, I honestly still think that either they used different writers, or they had the good ones chained up in the Zerg room. Brood War's campaign and subsequent story, at least for the first 2 chapters, the Protoss campaign and Terran, is bland. I'm not saying that the missions themselves are. On the contrary, Brood War's missions are some of the best and most complicated RTS gameplay I've experienced in years. I could not, however, shake off the feeling that the missions were more oriented in learning the mechanics rather than the story. Of course, there were some silver linings before the Zerg campaign. And that's why we're going to go over the whole story of StarCraft Brood War, by playing through each mission, looking at how the game utilizes its gameplay mechanics, sound, and visuals to bring the next part of this violent and dark universe to fruition. Off the bat, I love they changed the faction leaders, especially Kerrigan. We find ourselves right after Tacidar's sacrifice, where essentially, the Protoss nuked their own planet for the destruction of the Zerg Overmind. The Protoss are still the embodiment of a decaying empire. Zeratul the Dark Templar thinks we need to leave to Shakoris, his homeworld, and we meet Artanis.
Executor, I am Artanis. Though I have only recently been appointed Praetor, you can trust that I will uphold the honor and traditions of the Templar. We shall see.
Oh wow, Jimmy, how did you survive? Brood War does a great job at using its environments to tell a story, and especially how it introduces the new units or buildings. It's subtle, they don't just say destroy the Zerg teleporters, they go, to stop the Zerg reinforcements, we must. It feels lived in rather than a tutorial. I mean, how is this not epic? Not having a base to start off and knowing that our homeworld is pretty much kaput, it's a great way to start off the game. We finally make it to the Protoss War Gate, and now before you say something, the game kind of has horrible sound mixing. At least for the vocals compared to the music, I tried everything to go into the sound settings both on my computer and in game, but for some reason you can't just scroll through percentages. It's preset volumes, which doesn't help at all.
Worry about getting your people through the gates. Phoenix and I will hang back and protect our flank. Tell everyone to...
Having got through the portal to Shakuras, the Dark Templar world, we understand from Artanis that Phoenix and Raynor are still back on Aiur, and Zeratul tells us to set up an encampment. Somehow there are Zerg here?
Zeratul. Glad I am to see that you've returned home after these many decades. But the strange guests that have followed you here seem ill-tempered.
Well met, my brother. Indeed, these creatures known as the Zerg have no regard for the sanctity of life. Once we have secured this area, I shall tell you everything I know about them in council.
I'm sure.
I love the introduction to the Dark Templar, especially since we get used to them in the mission. And let me tell you, Dark Templars mess up Zerg. We need to secure the warp gate from Shakuras' side, and with a lot of slashing, we eliminate the Zerg from our side, and get this radio message.
Executor, my crew and I will remain here on Aiur and shut the gate down on this side. It's the only way to make sure that the Zerg won't send more reinforcements to Shakuras.
You will be hopelessly outnumbered, and once the gate is shut down, there will be no one to save you should you be overrun.
Yeah, well, I'm a man of action. What can I say?
God, I love Jimmy. And you may also be asking yourself, how is this bland? You've had nothing but good things to say, and I'll answer that by saying, this is the last time you'll see Jim Raynor until Act 3, the only likable character in this whole series. We also go down this eugenics alien rabbit hole, so buckle up. And why the hell did Blizzard have an obsession with the word Naga? We meet the matriarch and the leader of the Dark Templar on Shakuras, who gives us the same spiel that the Conclave would, but for their ideology.
It is clear that fortune has reunited our people. We Dark Templar will never forget our banishment from Aiur, nor the Conclave's sins against us. But you and your companions are no longer of the Conclave, and when the light and dark sides of our energies are united, our power is undeniable.
She also doesn't seem too worried about the Zerg and more interested in the Xel'Naga Temple, apparently the progenitor race of all three factions, which she casually drops on us.
We remain here to study it. We discovered that the enormous structure is actually an ancient Xel'Naga temple, dedicated to the race that sired us all.
Even more, we can't use the temple until we have 2 crystals that somehow she knows about. Wait, how did Zerg Cerebrits get here? This is out of left field, right? Here's where the way they implement the story kind of goes off rails for myself. In comparison to the first game where you start out as a desert ranger and lead a rebellion all the way to toppling the Confederacy and human-alien transformation, somehow that all felt grounded. This level felt like filler, even tutorial-like. Unlike the base game, the gameplay and story didn't connect for me, especially when we get a visit from the Queen.
Well done, mighty Protoss. I'm glad to see that you all are as violent as ever.
Kerrigan, what mockery is this?
Relax, warriors. Despite what you may think, I haven't come here to fight you.
This is laughable. Do you truly expect us to believe that your intentions here are honorable? That these Zerg here are not under your sway?
Look,
Protoss you've killed were my enemies as well. If you let me explain, I'm sure you'll understand that—
You are the enemy of all who live, Kerrigan. What makes you think we would have anything to do with you?
Because, Zeratul, I bring news of an event that threatens us all. If you'd be so good as to escort me back to your citadel, I'll tell you everything I know.
Yeah, escorting Kerrigan, someone that's murdered thousands of Protoss, to hear her out, that is hubris. I guess I find it much more plausible that Raynor would join Mengsk or Duke in the first game, rather than the Protoss siding with Kerrigan or even hearing her out. Kerrigan informs us that there's a new Overmind on Char and that she is reformed. Yeah, I would leave the Zoom call too.
We believe anything you have to say.
Because, Zeratul, I'm no longer the mindless murderess whom you fought on Char.
She lies. She is infested to the core. I, for one, will not listen to any of this.
Silence, Judicator. Continue, Kerrigan.
She also plays the enemy of my enemy is my friend deal and offers to help us with the crystals. The matriarch again is more than willing to look over what Artanis describes as crimes against their race, which puts it lightly. Seriously, she murdered Zeratul's friends, toppled their government, and rained fear throughout the sector. Now, that's an entrance. So, looks like these pesky humans have the crystal and we cannot just talk with them. We get past their defenses, and this is what I mean by unbelievable.
The crystal's here, boys. Send in a probe to gather it up, and our work here is done.
You have done well, Kerrigan. There's more to you than it seems. Perhaps I have misjudged you.
Given our history, I can't say I blame you. Let's just get the job done.
Zeratul, bro, she literally helped you get one of the crystals and you say, perhaps may I have misjudged you. Let's see if this pans out, but at the moment, I was just audibly going, this is not how the story goes, right? I did play Brood War back in the day, but for some reason, I don't really remember the story, just little pieces. In contrast, I could probably go through mission by mission of the base game. I don't know what that says about Brood War. The introduction of the UAD is well done and a great concept. Zeratul is right to fear them.
Raynor spoke of the distant Terran homeworld called Earth. These humans have come a long way to make war on us.
Have faith, Zeratul. You almost sound as if you fear these humans.
Yes, Artanis, we did vanquish the Overmind, but we did so with the help of humans. Do not be so quick to underestimate them.
This was a great level mechanically. You feel more like a special force task force rather than your usual macro base building. You're clearing a path for your ships and getting each platform's power generator, which unlocks more units. It's a classic level designed from Blizzard and just feels great. It's a slow progression too, and losing units can be costly, since you'll only get reinforcements after each successful generator takedown. After 47 minutes and 6 generators destroyed, we return to Char.
It's probable that there'll be a number of broods protecting that area. It's risky, but if we can strike hard and fast, we might be able to fight our way through their defenses and escape with the crystal.
Comrades, I may have an alternative. Seeing as how the Overmind is still in its infant stages, I wonder if we might be able to disrupt its control over those broods. If we can do enough superficial damage to the creature, it might pacify the Zerg nearest to it, allowing us some time to retrieve the Callus.
A bold plan, young Artanis. Your courage rivals that of mighty Tazadar himself.
You give me too much credit, noble Zeratul.
I enjoyed this about Brood War's campaign design. They allow the player to choose which objective they want to go for, and usually it had a tangible effect on the story, or at least the path. For this level, you can either blow up the Overmind into submission, or try to grab the last crystal. It was also kind of interesting to have both Zerg and Protoss forces under my control so early on. As I said before, Blizzard's rebalancing and new units require a lot more macro than my old self is used to. It added another set of complexity to the levels themselves. Also, the playstyles of Zerg and Protoss are so completely antithetical to each other. One is fast-paced and expanding, and the other is just the turtle god. I chose the Crystal, and I wonder if I had fought the Overmind if the game would have been vastly different. Knowing what happens during the Terran campaign and beyond, if someone knows, please leave that comment.
However, we face a new threat within our own ranks. In your absence, Judicator Aldaris and an entire legion of Kali survivors from Ire have begun an open revolt against us.
By the gods, this is ill news indeed. Why would Aldaris betray us so?
Zeratul, if you have to ask that, then you're also blind. The Conclave was stupid, but aspiring with the self-proclaimed Queen of Blades seems to be more than enough reason to go, huh, I wonder if those guys that got exiled a long time ago for being evil are actually evil? We also have this, well, we have Archons at home type of deal, but these guys are kind of bad.
Against us. Fear not, comrades, for we have Archons of our own. Should the dire need arise, all Dark Templar may merge to become Dark Archons. Though we sacrifice our warriors in doing so, only the might of the Dark Archons can match the forces of Aldaris.
I love their look, and of course taking control of units is badass, but it takes their power so long to charge, they have no attack, it just makes them pretty useless once they run out of energy. We finally catch up to the traitor and...
It is finished, Judicator. Surrender your remaining forces and join us in eradicating the Zerg.
I would sooner die, Dark One, than tarnish the memory of Ire by joining with you. Your fate was sealed the moment your matriarch allied herself with the Queen of Blades. Longer afford to be so naive, Artanis. While you were securing the crystals, I discovered that your matriarch has been harboring a dark secret. She has been manipulated by...
I have no time for this.
Wretched creature, this was a Protoss matter. You had no right to interfere. Be gone from this world. You are no longer welcome among us.
Aldaris is completely right, and this line just irks me. So yeah, let's start counting how many times Kerrigan double-crosses someone in this game.
This entire chain of events has been masterminded by Kerrigan, and we played right into her hands.
Duh. Does anyone else get what I mean by the story? Artanis feels like someone from Family Guy wrote his lines. The matriarch being bloodthirsty for self-described nomadic tribe leader raises one eyebrow from Zeratul and then nothing.
Shall be the first to fall before us.
Matriarch, I have served you for many millennia. I have always valued your wisdom and strength. Yet, lately, in your mind, I have sensed something that clouds your true spirit. Though Kerrigan has gone, I wonder if her treachery still remains.
Be at ease, Zeratul. I am still the same Rashagon you have always known.
It's been a while since I played StarCraft 2, but I'll be interested to see if this guy's learned anything. Anyways, we're tasked with bringing the yin-yang crystals to the temple, and luckily for us, Dragoon spam is a thing. I also love how half the map isn't discovered when you get to the temple. It makes the standoff feel a lot more scary, exactly how the Terran mission in the first game felt. Plus, being able to defend it Protoss style was another epic moment brought by gameplay and storytelling being intertwined. Oh, hell yeah. There aren't many cinematics as I hoped for, but the ones they added are fantastic. I really enjoyed the art direction, and it weirdly reminded me of World of Warcraft somehow. I also assumed that it was supposed to be on the nose that it looks like the Overmind, but more mechanical. Wow, the Protoss love their nukes. But I guess it works! And there concludes the Protoss campaign, which I was not over the moon about. I 100% can believe that Raynor would join Menks to destroy the Confederacy, that the enemy of my enemy makes sense. The Protoss, literally having to sacrifice one of their best in an attempt to destroy the Zerg, would join forces with Kerrigan and now defunct leader of said Zerg just because she cured a crystal for them? Come on. I was hoping that the Terran campaign could change my mind, about the direction that the story was going. Okay, the synopsis they give on who the UED is, plus the images are stellar. You can already feel the power these guys hold, especially knowing that the Protoss just talked about how long their journey was.
Adjutant online. Good morning, Captain. Our long voyage from Earth is over, and we are holding a stationary position near the borders of Dominion space. I trust that the effects from your long, cold sleep have worn off by now. If not, the Med Officer can provide you with additional cryostim supplements. Admiral Dugal has issued a proclamation to the entire fleet via Transmed. I'll patch it through to you now.
Attention, defenders of the United Earth Directorate. This is Admiral de Gaulle. You were all briefed before we left Earth, so you know that we have come here to conquer this sector in the name of humanity.
I love the Terran voice AI. She's great and a good exposition dumper. De Gaulle is an interesting character, but what I find more interesting is Blizzard just making this the faction that you play, not Jim Raynor. I kept scratching my head because they kept killing off people that I barely even knew. Jim was a constant, and I know, StarCraft 2, but at the time, a little bit weird. I did like Stukov a bit, but his and De Gaulle's relationship never got to the point where I truly cared. We do have a set of great missions though, and I love the fact that the Earth Directorate is just going all out and trying to take back the sector. I really enjoyed that world building because Earth is real, and it's probably more of a dictatorship than the Confederacy was. Even more so, they kind of do an excellent job at showing the logistics of what it takes to be a space empire. I don't know if it's just me, but I do wonder what the economy of this universe is, and when we get there in real life, what the equivalent of American Truck Simulator will be. Anyways, Stukov gives us orders to take out the Dominion resistance, and we oblige.
Stukov out.
Everything is going well until, why did they do this again?
I am Lieutenant Samir Duran of the Confederate Resistance Forces. I've been monitoring your attack against the Dominion, and I'd like to offer you my services and skills in return for amnesty.
So, you're telling me that Stukov, after the longest interstellar trip of his frickin' life, just happens to get on the first planet and sign up with a random human who could be anyone? I swear, I'm pulling out my hair. It's like they couldn't think of how to set up double crosses in such a short time period. Even with Duran having knowledge of the land, the UED just signing up with these guys felt like bad writing. We get back to base and Duran is already in our secret communication briefings. Great. I do enjoy how they put into perspective what the UED deem as important strategic targets. This makes sense to go for Mengsk's data links, but also crippling the Dominion's battlecruisers.
However useful he may prove to be, Alexei, he will always be a traitor in my eyes. And you know that I cannot abide a traitor.
Only too well, Gerard.
Oh wait, De Gaulle, say that to yourself in 2 levels. I enjoyed this level a lot getting the pilots to the battlecruisers, and it made it a true effort to get every single one in. Also, having medics for Terrans is the icing on the cake for Marine builds. Like, they do not die. After getting a large armada, we see a familiar face.
I don't know which militia y'all are from, but I advise you to back down, now. I'm General Edmund Duke of the Dominion Armada, and in the name of Emperor Mengsk, I order you to surrender your forces immediately and unconditionally.
Ah, General Duke. I expected your forces to arrive sooner. You should know that we represent not one of your ragtag peasant militias, but the combined might of the United Earth Directorate.
Earth Directorate? You mean to tell me you've come all the way out here from Earth?
I love that reaction. Oh, De Gaulle, I get trying to control the Overmind, but you know you don't have to turn on the switch. Bring it back to Earth or somewhere safe. Like, why destroy it?
It appears that this Psi Disruptor is the machine he was looking for. I must humbly suggest to you, Admiral, that the Disruptor be destroyed as quickly as possible. If it should fall into the hands of the Dominion, we could face some very serious problems.
A prudent call, Lieutenant. I am inclined to agree.
It's a side disruptor. You turn it off and on. I also like going back and forth to the old graphics sometimes. Just shows you how far we've come and how awesome the design was back then.
Captain, we've located the side disruptor. Shall we plant the explosives on it?
Lieutenant Duran, we're here to relieve you. We've come with orders from Admiral Stukov himself to facilitate the disruptor's disassembly.
Very well. Take it away. Captain, I'll be returning to the command ship presently.
With the side disruptor in our hands, we plan our assault on Core Hall.
Core Hall was a hotbed of anti-Confederate sentiment for years. The Confederacy hoped to contain Core Hall's civil unrest by decimating it and its population with a massive nuclear barrage. Though the radiation levels on the planet are at an all-time low, its surface is now nothing more than a smoldering desert.
Jesus Christ, that's messed up. But also, why is this their homeworld if it's nuked to oblivion? Again, I love the choice the game gives the player, and I don't want to get nuked. The art direction in this game is stellar, and plus the destroying of the nuclear silos, it's a perfect mix of story and gameplay.
Your forces are under attack.
We won't need to worry about nukes when we siege Mengsk Pass.
With the nukes dealt with, we're going full assault on Mengsk's base. This was a slog and took many Marines' lives. And of course the music is so loud you can't hear the voice actors. What is this? I'm kind of appalled. Since so many people played through the game, you miss like half of the epic lines. How did no one catch this, or am I missing something?
Flagship NORAD 3 in low orbit. Emperor Minsk may be attempting an escape. Receiving incoming transmission.
This is Emperor Minsk of the Terran Dominion. I wish to parley with your executive officer at once.
So, the elusive Arcturus Mengsk at last. I was hoping to speak with you before we finished our business here.
So, Raynor shows up to save Mengsk for some reason that hasn't been revealed, and we contemplate how to get revenge.
Captain, we have tracked the fugitives Minsk and Raynor to the devastated Protoss homeworld of Ire. Apparently, these two have taken shelter within a fortified Protoss encampment that lies at the base of a fully functional warp gate.
I don't understand this. Why would the Protoss harbor these men?
Valkyrie prepared.
Oh, they know how to introduce a new unit. We're trying to get Raynor and Mengsk before they escape again, but once we get to the Protoss portal, the second most easily spotted betrayal in this game happened.
Zerg signals coming in from the northeast. That's Duran's position, but he seems to have moved his forces out of place. Lieutenant Duran, this is Stukov. Come in. I'm tracking a massive Zerg swarm in your quadrant. Respond, damn it!
That is strange, Vice Admiral. My scanners don't show any Zerg at all. Maybe you have a technical problem with your equipment.
Lieutenant, if these Zerg get through, we'll never be able to capture Minsk. I'm giving you a direct order to return to your position and reinforce my troops.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but it seems your signal's fading out. I couldn't make out that last part. I'll try to re-establish contact later.
Did he just do the losing you in a tunnel bit? Damn, that's ice cold, Duran.
Stukov took control of a large contingent of troops and came here to the planet Braxis.
Why would he abandon the battle on Ire? Why has he come back to Braxis?
I mean no offense, Admiral, but perhaps Stukov's loyalties are not as strong as you once believed.
Because you are young and foolish, Lieutenant, I will pardon that insult. Alexei and I have been friends since long before you were born. However, he must be found. If Stukov is here, he will account for his actions.
Okay, I get Duran uses Admiral now, but De Gaulle getting mad and then doing nothing about it. And remember how he didn't like a turncoat? De Gaulle even says Duran has been right all along, literally 2 minutes after saying how insufferable Duran is for not understanding his relationship with Stukov. Like, what? There had to have been a better way to advance the plot, right? Finding Stukov is another micro-intensive level, which I love. Especially downsizing to corridors instead of planets, there's something there. This level also has some of the greatest one-liners from Marines.
How do you work this damn thing? Computer, locate Admiral Stukov.
Access code denied.
We finally catch up to Stukov and get a dying exposition dump. Looking at it now, no matter how stupid the UAD was to believe Duran or even bring him in on this thing, the dude really knows how to scorch the earth.
Surprised. We both know exactly what it is that you're here to terminate. Get on with it.
Say goodnight, Stukov.
To hell with you. As well. Use the disruptor to finish our operation. Let my death have at least some meaning.
Alexei! Oh, what have I done? What have I done? Computer, where the hell is Lieutenant Duran?
We fight through a ton of hallways and shut down the destruction of the facility, which also means that De Gaulle will protect the side disruptor, which I believe comes back heavily in StarCraft 2. Now, with literally the item that should never have been even considered to be a danger to the UED, the capture of the Overmind is at hand.
Time is upon us, Captain, to do what we came here for. We will claim the Overmind in the name of humanity.
Be advised, Captain. Our sensors have identified 3 Cerebrates who constitute the core of the Overmind's defenses. Proceed with extreme caution.
Launch your forces and let not a Zerg survive.
This is like wild, and I don't quite understand how the UED thought they could tame the Overmind or even study it. Like, was it their hubris being so far away? Apparently, it only takes 4 medics and some really powerful medicinal drugs. Rasta Overmind. It started as a Jamaican accent and went into Russian. Anyways, before we can get to the Overmind, there are 3 more Cerebrates just chilling. Like, how many of these things did the Zerg have? Was I just hired because they needed to fill a quota? It was also hard since half of the buildings were invincible towards your attacks before you took out the Cerebrate. Another great detail was the Ultralisk. Whole lot of peppa. I have to say, Brood War does not disappoint with the scale of the missions. I don't know if it was just an afterthought, but the maps in Brood War are like bigger than the base game. It feels like that.
Administering the neurostim treatments to the Overmind.
Excuse me, Admiral, but I'd like to introduce someone to you.
Duran! You son of a bitch. What's the meaning of this?
Admiral de Gaulle, I've heard a lot about you.
What the hell are you?
Finally, we bring the med team in, and of course, it's Kerrigan.
You may find that difficult, you abomination. Seeing as how I possess the means to disrupt your control of the Zerg.
It's a great line. Our second cinematic, and again, space fascism has always been in, right? I kind of love the style from the voice to the video. It brings a World War II-esque news brief, and if you think about it, information probably does take a while to travel, and the propaganda machine needs to continue.
Of the planet Char, long since rumored to cradle the malevolent Overmind of the Zerg. The Overmind itself, an enormous living brain-like entity, dictates control of all the myriad Zerg forces, and it was believed to be planning an invasion of the Earth itself. Once on the offensive, our highly trained Directorate forces were more than a match for the beast-like Zerg. Even their fiercest warrior breed could not defeat the greatest military technology in the galaxy. The Zerg forces on Char were completely decimated and their losses were tallied in the millions. But all wars have casualties, and while Directorate losses were minimal, the fleet's Vice Admiral Stukov gave his life.
Damn, what a visual. Like, I love how big the Overmind is and just how bonkers it is that we think we could have subdued it.
Even now, Directorate psychics and powerful drugs are keeping the creature pacified. The Overmind will undergo extensive research to ensure the continued safety of the United Earth Directorate and of all mankind.
And that's the Terran campaign. Again, great missions, but holy hell, why do these people trust anyone new?
You both on Ire. I told you about the new Overmind and about the UED that seeks to control it. Well, the UED has done it. They've tamed the Overmind and now control most of the Zerg broods in this sector. That's why I've asked for your help.
You want us to help you defeat the UED so that you alone will rule the Zerg.
Wrong, Phoenix. I want to defeat them because if we don't, they'll clamp down on this sector and enslave us all. You know I'm right, Jim. You've studied the history of Earth. You know what the UED's agenda is. Taking control of the Zerg is only the beginning for them.
Maybe. I don't know.
The Zerg campaign starts off with Kerrigan realizing that she'll need to regain control over the broods after the Overmind's conquering, and that the side disruptor reaches all the way to Tarsonis. For some reason, Phoenix and Raynor keep listening to Kerrigan, which I'm like, what? He even gives us a spiel about the two lesser evils, but my guy, Phoenix, was this not you last game? We had a cinematic dedicated to you getting acid in the face by a freaking Hydralisk. We get details on the side disruptor, and Kerrigan wants to go full sicko mode on the planet. Disrupt this.
Kerrigan has regained control of her minions. I fear that she will forget our pact and turn on us.
Oh, you think, Phoenix? I enjoyed this level a lot, trying to get to 10,000 minerals and infesting the Terran command center. It was a great balance of trying to hit the objective while also balancing unit production and the economy. When we get to 10,000 minerals, which carries over to the next level, I thought that was a great feeling. And we'll need them too. I do love the way Zerg expands, and the game really shows you visually and just necessity-wise that that's important to do. A lot of the Zerg missions is about establishing a lot of bases, which if you don't get by the third mission, well, you can't get back 3 hours using one hive for units. You also need Vespian gas, which might not seem like a big ask, but my god, your workers no matter what faction farm gas so slowly that you'll be waiting for periods of time just for it. Even expanding to 3 bases will not cover most upgrades without time, and it's one of those things that I noticed playing StarCraft is that this game takes time. You're essentially rebuilding your base every time, your economy every time, and sometimes with really cool or annoying stipulations. It's interesting to me since people ask about the decline of RTS might point to the theme of rebuilding and think, well, nothing carries over, so there's no progression. It's something they addressed in StarCraft 2, the progression, even if it's not the most in-depth system. Blizzard at least realized that people like that. And games like Dota and Valorant that rebuild each time, but playing single player you kind of lose that competitive edge. Plus the micro needed to have a stable economy. I hate to use the word pacing, but it's gameplay that kind of took me out of the pacing of the game. At least in 2024. I don't know how to feel about this and I wonder what you think. But I wouldn't be opposed to at least having starting bases when applicable SCVs or workers are already working. It could even be story-based, seeing as each campaign seems to follow the growing strength of each faction. Anyways, we give Mensk his nuked planet back.
What of your allies here on Korhal, my queen? What would you have done with them?
They are of no further use to me. Though they have proven themselves useful, it might be dangerous to allow them to live.
The second I saw the objective, I just sighed. Great opening, though.
y'all doing?
Yeah, Kerrigan wants these guys dead, and we just have a 6-minute window to knock out one of their bases. I love this little adaptation they give, and it really makes you think about which side you don't want to face. I just use it as an excuse to build more bases. We find Duke and...
Kerrigan, you murdering bitch. We had a deal.
Oh, come on, Arcturus. Did you really think I'd allow you to come into power again?
But you said revenge was secondary to defeating the UED.
I lied.
Oh yeah. I'm scratching my head going, of course she lied.
Most foul, Kerrigan. We were fools to have gone along with this charade.
You're right, Phoenix. I used you to get the job done. And you played along just like I knew you would. You Protoss are also headstrong and predictable.
21 people need to die before you realize what you've become.
You don't even know what you're talking about, Jim.
Don't I? I'll see you dead for this, Kerrigan. For Phoenix, and all the others who got caught between you and your mad quest for power.
Tough talk, Jimmy. But I don't think you have what it takes to be a killer.
It may not be tomorrow, darling. It may not even happen with an army in my back. But rest assured, I'm the man who's gonna kill you someday. I'll be seeing you.
And what are you talking about, Kerrigan? Jim Rader is like a rebel desert marshal that joined the Dominion. I'm pretty sure he killed over 10,000 people so far. 2 days later on Tarsonis, we get an alert that a ton of renegade Zerg are descending on us, and lo and behold, it's the UED scum.
Landing zone. There appears to be a number of UED scientists working within the compound, but we are unable to determine the purpose of their presence.
I know what they're up to. I suspected that the UED's control of the Overmind was tenuous. Tarsonis is too remote for them to maintain direct control over the swarms, so they've sent these scientists to coordinate their attack.
I love the objective just to murder their scientists. Very fitting for Kerrigan. With the contingent of the UED taken care of, Kerrigan wants us to go back to Shakoris, the Dark Templar homeworld.
In mind, Duran.
The Protoss outpost of Telematros is built upon a large mesa and is essentially impregnable to ground attacks. However, Telematros is fueled and supported by a number of adjacent pylon clusters. I believe that if we can cause a surge within those pylon clusters, we can cause Telematros power grids to overload. The resulting explosion will be the perfect cover for retrieving the matriarch.
Clean, simple, devious. I like it.
Wait, how the hell do you know that, Duran? Like, no one is going to question this entity that literally knows everything about each race? We get Duran to each station to set up the charges, and boom goes the dynamite.
Our forces are under attack.
So, all of this matriarch stuff was a play to get Zeratul to help us take out the Overmind, since Dark Templar energy is the only way to kill it. At this point, with the matriarch literally advocating to kill an all-knowing being that is controlled by humans, and the chance that if destroyed, Kerrigan will just leave and the swarms go away, is laughable and the biggest red flag. Compared to how I felt at the end of the Protoss campaign in the base game, this ending was not bringing me back. Again, the missions in Brood War are some of the best I've ever played. The mechanics are interesting and engaging, but the story is like, what is going on? Is it futile to argue for a good story in an RTS? No, the first game had it.
Nor do I ask it on Kerrigan's behalf. I ask you to do this for our people, Zeratul. Obey me as you always have. Trust in my judgment.
Very well, Matriarch. The Overmind will die this day.
Ah, that makes so much more sense, but as for good of a plan as Kerrigan is saying it is, it all hinges on everyone believing her, which I for one obviously did not.
As you wished. Now, I demand that you release the Matriarch at once.
Of course. Rashagal, do you wish to return to your tribe?
No, my queen. I wish only to serve you and remain at your side.
What treachery is this, Kerrigan? This pathetic creature cannot possibly be Rashagal.
I promised that I'd allow her to return to you, Zeratul, but it looks to me like she doesn't want to go.
Sadly, Zeratul and the matriarch teleport away, and what a line.
Overmind. And as you can see, your leader belongs to me now. Not bad, huh?
We hunt them down and, yeah, no shit we killed her, Kerrigan. You even said in our press briefing before that Zeratul won't like it that she can't be saved.
I can hardly believe this. You've killed your own matriarch.
Better that I killed her than let her live as your slave, Kerrigan.
Well, I have misjudged you, warrior. You are worthy indeed. You are free to go.
What?
I said you were free to go.
So the best thing was to kill her, and Kerrigan is like, oh, this is your punishment because you'll be tortured, when in reality, Zeratul won't even bat an eye at this. And here we have Kerrigan's hubris. She just lets Zeratul go? For what? Having the ability to laugh at him? I wasn't expecting this bonus level. I guess this set up almost everything for StarCraft 2, even though it took them more than 10 years to create.
Seen a creature like this before.
Test subject 29 classified. Protoss Zerg hybrid, imperfect cryohibernation. Psionic emanations minimal.
No.
Magnificent, isn't it?
What? Who are you?
I've had many names throughout the millennia, young prodigal. You would know me best as Samir Duran.
Kerrigan's consort. Is this part of her twisted schemes?
No. Young Kerrigan could not have engineered this grand experiment. Although her rebirth into this Zerg swarm has sped up my progress, I can assure you that this endeavor is quite beyond her narrow understanding.
Essentially, we're finding the splicing of genes, and what I assume is everyone trying to replicate the Xel'Naga race, or at least merge everyone into a superior race. It's been 14 years since I played StarCraft 2, so give me some slack.
Creature within that cell.
Have you any conception of what you've created here? Do you have any idea what this hybrid is capable of?
Of course I do. This creature is the completion of a cycle. Its role in the cosmic order was preordained when the stars were young. Behold the culmination of your history.
All I behold is an abomination.
This part blew my mind, because not only was this good writing, but the gameplay leading up to it accompanied the story. Also, Duran being something other than Zerg was a great twist. Plus, this guy is set up like an evil mastermind, having all these hybrids around the galaxy. We come back to reality, and Kerrigan is realizing that she is facing a three-front war, and oh boy, she bathes in it.
Gee, that's a tough one, Admiral. You'll have to let me think for a minute. You know, Admiral, I think I'll just massacre your remaining troops now and watch you die in agony. How would that be?
You vastly underestimate me, my dear.
I don't think so, Admiral. You see, at this point, I'm pretty much the queen bitch of the universe.
Having to defend four fronts was honestly a lot of fun, and felt like a great culmination to the game. We pretty much supplant ourselves as Queen Bee by legitimately destroying every institution of every single faction that's near us. Wow, I really enjoyed that Kerrigan really learned how to start talking trash, especially hearing her response to De Gaulle.
Kerrigan, I am prepared to offer terms of surrender. It is my wish that you allow my men to live.
You're not in a position to offer me anything, Admiral. And I don't take prisoners. I'll tell you what. Turn your remaining ships around and start heading back towards the Earth. I'll even let you have a head start before I send the swarms after you. It'll be interesting sport to see how far you get before you die.
And like that, sort of on a cliffhanger, that's the end of Brood War's story. Crazy to think about not knowing what happened to Raynor, Zeratul, if Karrakin actually reached Earth. And what is Duran? A Xel'Naga, a hybrid himself? Honestly, it felt like the setup to all of that.
The Earthborn Directorate has been destroyed, and the Overmind lies dead and trampled beneath the ashes of Char. As for my unlikely allies, I think that I shall allow them a reprieve. For in time I will seek to test their resolve and their strengths. They will all be mine in the end. For I am the Queen of Blades. None shall ever dispute my rule again.
I forget if these photographs synopsis were in the original game or added to the remaster. Regardless, Brood War's story went from bland to what in the cosmic horror eugenics power vacuum tarnation is this? It really makes me wonder about StarCraft 2's story, but that will be for a later time. So, Brood War as an expansion, amazing. Truly fantastic, and they were able to make such a well-crafted game and really hone in on the mechanics and units that felt genuinely useful to the war effort. On that front, it's a true masterpiece. Brood War had something missing compared to the base game throughout its whole entire experience. Plausibility. And I know you might be shouting, it's sci-fi. What do you mean by plausibility? It's what I've mentioned throughout the video, the plausibility of the relationships that we see on screen. I understood, even sided with the gray areas from the first game. Kerrigan listening to Mensk because she felt wrong by the ghost experiments? Plausible. Raynor joining the Dominion? Plausible. The list goes on and on. At no point was I thinking to myself, the choices these characters make is laughable. Yet in Brood War, what we saw today, there were moments that had me scratching my head feeling this was forced. I really want to hear what you think about this. Obviously, this is an expansion, and the story probably took a back seat. However, StarCraft 1's story really resonated with me, and knowing how they set up StarCraft 2, I'm really interested to see how that comes to fruition. What were your thoughts on the story? Let me know in the comments below. And a huge thank you to some familiar names. Nobody EXE50. My friend, thank you so much for being one of the first people to comment, and your consistency. Whenever I see a comment from you, it just makes me smile. And it means the world, so thank you. And with that, if you enjoyed the video, please click that like button. Let me know how you like the story of Brood War. If you really enjoyed the video, check out my channel. I make things for everyone. I make sure of it. And as always, see you next time.